Hi, I'm Neha, co-founder and CEO of Tracxn Technologies. Tracxn is a private market intelligence platform. We track startups, emerging technology sectors globally. We work with venture capital funds, private equity funds, and large corporates in over 50 countries. If you look at the public market, it has a luxury of a lot of platforms, that exist, like a Bloomberg, Refinitiv, etc. That is there. If you look at the private markets, you still had to sort of build the whole data yourself. In a sense that, if you're looking at to invest in a particular company, to find out details about it, or if you're looking to find out information about an emerging sector, right? We are bridging that gap. Right, we are essentially bridging the information gap which exists between the private markets and what the investors want to look at it. So if you look at it from both the sides, founders spend disproportionate time in looking to find out the right investors, and investors on the other hand are also spending time in finding out the right companies. So we are trying to bridge that gap, and we are able to do that using technology as well as a team of analysts which is there, and we're solving that problem globally. So easy way to think about us is, what the large platforms have done in the public markets, we are trying to do that for the private markets. So today we track more than 4 million companies globally, and these are across all the technology sectors as well as all the emerging sectors which is there. And today we track more than 2,000 sectors, on the platform. And this is global. So we track companies across, global, across all the countries. And that is why we also have sort of customers in over 50 countries. So in terms of the platform, essentially we want to build a platform which, just like what Bloomberg has done for the public markets, we want to build that for the private market. So that's, one of our vision. And one of the other, things which is there is that we want to build a large data platform out of India. So if you look at it, India has been the back office for a lot of the large data companies, right? And the front end has been probably in cities like a New York or a London. Today our endeavor is actually to build a large data company out of India for this asset class, which is the private markets globally. So I think India is very beautifully placed today in the whole startup landscape, right? You also saw, for instance, our Prime Minister talk about the fact that today India is the third largest geography in terms of the number of startups that it has, in terms of the sizable companies which it has. And even if you look at the talent pool which has got created, India has a very nice talent pool to actually create not just companies who are serving customers in India as well as serving sort of customers globally. So today, because of a combination of talent as well as availability of capital as well as the expertise which is there, India is actually very well poised in terms of the whole startup landscape which is becoming large globally. And just a testimony to the fact is, if you see the kind of services that you and me use and what we were using 10 years back, right? If you just take an example of all the services we are using and how many private companies are making that possible, right? So that is just a testimony to the fact of how ubiquitous it has become, the whole startup ecosystem, and people are actually solving very interesting problems. Today it's not just limited to delivering food in 10 minutes to getting brands. You are having brands across different categories. If you want like a ghee, you have startups who are catering to you with that. Plus you also have startups today in deep tech, right? You have startups who are launching rockets, who are launching a constellation of satellites today, which you would not have expected to have happened even 5 years back, right? So I think India is very well poised in terms of the whole startup ecosystem. And I think so that's the opportunity that essentially we also see, that if helping that in any small way to bridge the sort of the information is what we want, what is our endeavor to actually do. One of our endeavor is simple. So for instance, if an investor is looking at a particular sector, say if you want to invest in a particular sector, they should be able to do that in a much shorter span of time. Like instead of spending a week Googling and then looking for companies and then getting more information about them, they should be able to do their work within like a few days, and they should be able to reach out to the relevant companies within a few hours, right? So that is our endeavor, and that's how we do. So one of the key components of the platform is that we track all the emerging sectors, be it online brands which is coming, or be it space tech, or be it EV, or be it battery technology. So we have coverages in all those, and anyone who wants to invest in it, we want to make the whole job of finding out information about the sector, about the companies, a matter of a few minutes. So that's been our endeavor. The second thing is, another thing which is happening is that, there is more and more information about private companies now that is becoming available, right? So you think, you can see the filings information, what the company is doing. Now the companies are talking about the product, digitally to reach out to the customers. There's, on the tax, there's data about companies. So now there's more and more data about private companies which has become available. And our endeavor is also to, get that information, so that anyone who wants to filter through, tons of data, that becomes very easily. So if you compare the public markets to the private markets, public market has a, small set of companies, like 50,000 companies globally, and they have very structured information about them. If you're talking about the private companies, firstly, you're talking about millions of companies and fairly unstructured information about them. So our endeavor is basically to collate it and make it easily accessible, so that investors are able to spend less time in collating data and more time in sort of taking the investment decisions. So I think in the startup ecosystem as such, a lot has changed, probably in a positive way, in the last, I would say, few years. One of the good part is that now you also have a government who talks about the fact that India should become a hub for startups and innovation. And they talk about the fact that how India should also have, say, like AI companies, right? So I think that is one good thing, in the sense that there is at least recognition centrally that India should have a thriving ecosystem. So having said that, I think it's just a matter of probably few years that every large company actually creates a lot more talent pool, and in turn creates a lot more interesting companies. So I think it's just a matter of time that this whole cycle accelerates. And the good part is that now you've also started to see exits in the market, in terms of your listings, startups getting tapping the public markets to get listed, M&As which are happening, which is also sort of fueling the capital back to the investors, so that they can reinvest in more companies. I think overall good things in that sense, that structurally it is now possible for companies to tap into these different markets, to provide investors exit, or just to grow over time. So overall, I think it's we see sort of a positive trend happening every year, and I think it's much easier to start a company today than what it was 5 years back. Making it easier for companies to just to incorporate. And the other thing what founders have is that a lot of times the other thing about startups is that not every startups actually succeed. So for every successful startup, you also have 9 startups which probably started but could not actually cross a particular threshold. Then taking care of that ecosystem, how easy is it to close a company? How easy is it to be able to do that? So I think once you have some that part becomes easier, then that will also help the ecosystem, in a sense that it's easier for companies to form as well as close, in case that doesn't work out. I think we have a great opportunity at, one is the whole private market asset class is becoming large globally, not just in India, but globally. And I think we have a good opportunity to create a large data brand out of India. I think we are all, working hard towards that. And, it should not happen that India has been like the back office. I think, India should create a large global data brand.